Live. There we are. We're
Yeah,
live. We're
we're
live.
live. Yeah.
So
Awesome.
hello everybody. We're coming to you from Frames TM's channel. I'm Photography Discourse. I'm a guest on Frames' channel. Uh, we're here to discuss our views on the just announced Nikon Z8, which has been long awaited camera. We've been discussing this camera. Frames and I have been discussing this camera for well over a year. I'd say at least. I would say
Yeah,
even 18 months since the Z9 came
yeah,
out.
yeah.
And we thought that this camera would come out sooner than it has, and but the old saying is better late than never, and that is
Yeah.
certainly the case today. Um, so we're just here to talk about it a little bit, and share our thoughts with all of you. So, Frames, talk to me. What do you think?
First of all, Baron, somehow you're looking much younger. I don't know what you did to yourself. What do you do?
I think I need the skin softening feature of the Z8 through the video
Oh,
to
I see.
like
No, but
help.
you're already looking good. You're looking, and that backlight is really nice.
Oh yeah, well it's it's funny that backlight is actually just my room. It's just the regular light in my room, and then
Oh,
I have a light for in front that's lighting the key light. But yeah,
oh yeah. Hi, Chuck. Hello, Chuck. What's up? Okay, so Baron, I was right. I was right.
yes. By the way, you said I can't see. Is there chats in here? I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Oh, is there someone? Did anyone write
Yeah.
anything?
On the right top, you
Yeah.
can see comments. Can you see comments?
Comments. Got it.
Comments.
Got
Yeah.
it. There it is. All right. Yeah. So hey, Vahagan's on here. It looks like Chuck. Yeah.
I
So you were right, Frames. So I wanna say I made predictions about the Z8 on my channel several months ago, and it's funny because we focus on megapixels so much. Actually, all of my predictions came true, every single one of them, except the sensor. So
Well,
no,
that's 90% of the
no,
prediction. What do you mean?
no. Well, hold on. Like, if you recall, back then, people were saying
Uh,
it was going to have the form factor of a Z6. I said that was not true. It would be bigger. It'd be a professional UI. All of that came true.
yeah.
The only thing I didn't think is and I recognized then that they might use the Z9 sensor. I still believe to this day they did this because of economies of scale reasons more than anything else. But the fact of the matter is, it's such a capable sensor, and it's still cutting edge. It's still at the forefront of the market today, even
Yeah.
18 months later. I mean, the disappointing side of it to me is that it's 18 months old. But the interesting side is it's still cutting edge. It's still top of class, and no one else has matched it yet.
So the name of this, how I have named this chat is "Let That Sink In,"
Yeah.
and I'll tell you why. Um, Firstly, it reminds me of Elon Musk entering the Twitter office with a sink somehow. Yeah. Okay. You know, let's look at it. Let's look at the Sony line. A7S3, it does the A7S3 and beats it. A7R5, it does the A7R5, well, about 85, 90%, and then beats it with speed. Better
Right.
colors, better, much better. I mean, if you take A7R5 users out in the wild, outside, high megapixel studio, I mean, take care of whatever conditions, heavy professional usage. Look at that body, right? Astrophotography and your backlit interface. That's what we were talking about when you talked about a professional body. That's what you actually that's what we actually mean, and that's the value that I think the Sony lineup doesn't bring. And I'm going to do a video soon on how it's like three cameras in one: the A1, the A7S3, and the A7R5.
Well,
Except that what 14 more megapixel 14 more megapixel from 46 to 60. That's it.
right. Right. Well, let's break it down a little. I mean, we can, like, honestly, the camera's great, and we know, so like it's easy. Like, the good news is the camera's great. The good news is I've already ordered it. I'm already gonna get the camera like right away. So I obviously like it. I mean,
When?
that's
When?
well, I don't know exactly the delivery date, but I have my NPS order in, so it'll be as soon as possible, I guess. I
Let
think
me
that the
let me.
price. So the other
So,
thing I predicted the
sorry,
price.
sorry. Let me tell the viewers that Baron didn't come on live during the launch because he wanted to not miss the window, and he could just, send the what is it? Send the order in for the first lot of the Z8
Yeah,
because he didn't want to miss out on that. That's yeah.
yeah, because I wanted this camera. I mean, this camera, like I need to get this camera. But I would say that I predicted the price very accurately. If you look at my video, I said it would be $3,800 to $4,200, and it's exactly in the middle. It's 4,000.
Yeah.
So I nailed that prediction. I basically nailed all the predictions. I'm not trying to like be crazy about it. And I conceded at the time it could be the Z9 sensor, but only because they have those sensors readily available. And they didn't have the R&D to do a similar sensor of a higher megapixel. I do think
Hmm.
that will come in the future. And I do think they'll have compression algorithms to make those files more readily available. That said, I don't need more than 45 megapixels. I always said that. And so I'm totally happy with what it is for me. That's not
Yeah.
even an issue. But let's talk about some of the negatives a little bit, because I think it's easy to talk about the positives. So I watched Jared's email,
Hmm.
or sorry, Jared Poland's video, because of course he's going to be the naysayer. And we know he's going to be the
Hmm.
naysayer. So
Hmm.
I watched it just to see what he would say. And his two comments were, one is that the autofocus system is no better than the Z9, because it is the Z9
Hmm.
autofocus system. And I have a comment about that I want to address that. And then the second one was battery life is struggles a little bit. And I think that might be a valid concern, because basically you're powering a Z9 camera with an ENEL15 battery.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you're gonna have limitation there. He was saying that Steven was doing video and ran out of power after an hour with the battery. So I think it kind of begs the question. You need the grip if you want to have long battery life, but the grip appears to be two ENEL15 batteries. And I'll tell you, the grip disappoints me as well, because the grip is identical in every way to the Z6 II and the Z7 II
Hmm.
grip.
Hmm.
However, the Z6 II and Z7 II grip don't work on this camera because
Hmm.
the tripod connection is slightly off. So they had to make a different configuration, even though the grip is identical in every other way. So I
Hmm.
basically have to buy a new grip, which is basically a grip that I already have, completely already have. So if they're going to add an ENEL18 option to that grip, that would make it more worthwhile to me. And the other thing is the camera gets quite large when you add the grip. It's significantly taller than the Z9. So those are
Hmm.
some issues that I think are negatives. Do those negatives necessarily bother me? Obviously not much, because I bought the camera within the first 5 minutes of being able to. So I just want to be honest though, like with viewers, that like this camera is interesting to me differently than the Z9 was. The Z9 camera was a surprise camera. And what I mean by that is we did not accurately predict all that it could do. It came out and it surprised us. It came out, it had features we did not imagine it could have, and it did things beyond what we thought was capable at that time. The
Hmm.
Z8 is not that way. The Z8 is basically the same camera as the Z9 at a really awesome price point. So it's a little different if you look at it. It's not like a record break. It's not a surprise. It's just an awesome, amazing value. And I think that's great, because you didn't really need to add to the Z9. The Z9 was so far ahead of the pack. It still is to this day, 18 months later. So I guess that's where I stand on the Z8 right now. It'd be interesting to it's interesting to see what other people would think. And obviously Nikon fans are probably pretty excited. I'm certainly excited in that sense. Hey, I see Ronald Pollard's
Yeah.
in the chat. By the way, is there a way for me to write anything in the chat? I don't have a dialogue box.
So I think you need to scroll down. If you scroll down, you can
Oh,
see an
is it
option to post a comment.
really?
Comment.
I
Yeah.
don't see it. I don't know if mine's defective or something.
No. How can that be?
The last thing I just see is yours saying missed you.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
last thing on there. There's no dialog box below it. Strange.
Oh, that's
That's strange.
okay.
Anyway, so everyone can forgive me if I don't write in the comments, but if there's some, maybe we can address things verbally, if that's the case.
Oh, he says, Vagan says, open your YouTube on another page and then mute the audio on that. Yeah. I just did that. I just
Oh,
opened
okay.
the, yeah.
I have to do that. I wish they would
Yeah.
have a direct interface. Like,
Yeah. So because it's like I'm doing this from my sort of ID. So I think I get it, but the participants are probably not, because it's not a paid thing.
all right, hold on. Sorry, I had to mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, because yeah. No, because this is not the paid thing. I'll probably do it when I start being more regular on live. If there
Right,
is a spot left for me to go regular. Um, so, but yeah, we in the morning we're talking, right? In my morning and your night,
right.
yesterday night, we were talking and we said it's been such a while, such a long time, and so Nikon have been really been acting so hush hush about it. We discussed that maybe there is something very uh, maybe something there's very new about it. I don't know. We expected something a bit shocking, maybe something that's good, worth keeping a secret.
Right.
Um,
Well, so
I
I
think
just want
from
to,
that point of view,
I,
it
w-
was a bit of a letdown.
from that point of view, I would just say this: I just want to be clear. I'm not disappointed whatsoever, like at all. I'm actually very excited, but I'm
Hmm.
also not surprised.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. We're not surprised. Yes,
There's
we're
no
not surprised.
surprise here. It's just very exciting, but it's not
I'll,
surprising.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. 80% of the world, 85% of the market is surprised
Okay.
because Nikon owns 15% of the market. The rest of the market is in shock. They are trying to recover. They'll take about a few months to come out of this.
That may be true.
4,000.
I mean,
Yeah.
Even Jared said that it was an incredible value for $4,000.
Yeah.
Even he admitted that this is like an
Yeah.
incredible thing for the money. Now, I would just say something else about the autofocus. And I talked to Ronald Pollard about this a lot. So the Z9/Z8 autofocus, from what I can determine, and it's funny because I don't actually own the Z9. I've used a Z9 on a couple occasions, but just
Mm.
like really quick little, nothing like significant. But of course, I research this stuff like ridiculously. That's just like a curse that I have. And I watch different videos of different presentations and where you can see how it reacts and you see you see all the stuff.
Mm.
And what it comes down to, from what I can ascertain, is that the Z9 autofocus is in every way as good as Sony's autofocus if you know how to
Exactly.
use it.
Yeah.
So if you know how to use it, but the problem with that is you have to know how to use it. So it's not as idiot proof as Sony and Canon. So what that means is if you're using auto area AF, which is the widest one where it's the whole screen and the computer's just choosing for you and doing everything for you. If you use
Mm.
that mode, and I call that mode idiot mode, which is kind of a joke because there are moments or there are use cases where it actually is a good choice, but in general, it's not always the best choice. But if you
Mm.
use that mode, then the Canon and the Sonys probably are a little bit better in that mode, in that specific mode. They may predict your intention for the subject slightly more accurately, and they may be a little more sticky in those
Mm.
scenarios. But if you learn how to use the AF system of the Nikon and you have all these other modes that are actually use case oriented and you select the correct use case mode for what you're doing, then you're
Mm.
the results you get are as good, if not better, than the others. And we have really credible sources giving us that information. And one example is Steve Perry, who is
Yeah.
he's an exceptional wildlife photographer. Like all these people do bird photography and stuff like that. Like a lot of these people that we talk about, talk with in the chats, a lot of the Nikon community, a lot of the guys over at AP Studios on Chuck's channel. And these are like wildlife guys, and they do it largely for fun as a very serious hobby. And they're some excellent shooters. But Steve Perry is like kind of the apex of that group. and what I mean by that is he's not part of that group, but he's like a professional version of that. He is
And
actually
he
like,
does it day in and day out.
yeah, he's
And
top
he's
of class.
invested in, yeah. And the other thing is that he
So,
knows Nikon from for a very long time. So he knows how to use a Nikon. He just doesn't know how to use a camera in a particular setup or a situation, but he knows. You can call him a Nikon specialist. Jared Pullen used to be one Nikon specialist, but he's no more for the last 5 years.
well, right.
And that's different.
And my point about Steve Perry is he's also like, he's a Nikon specialist, if you will, but he also is kind of like open-minded to other brands, and he also has Sony equipment, and he shoots at the highest level of wildlife photography, at the very highest level, and he
Yeah.
shoots back to back. Like, he puts Z9 against A1 in exactly the same situations, under exactly the same conditions, and his conclusion is the AF systems are equal. However, you have to know how to use Nikons. There's a learning curve involved a little bit. So if you're somebody who just wants to pick up a camera and point and shoot, the Sonys and the Canons are probably still a little bit ahead. But I would argue that, first of all, I don't want to do that. I want to have more control over what I'm doing. And number two, I doubt there's many Nikon shooters that are point and shoot shooters, because Nikon shooters are like photographers. Like, Nikon people have always been like at the apex of photography, going back to 1959.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't really know that idiot mode matters that much. Obviously, you want to make it as good as possible, and I'm sure it will continue to improve. But the fact is, it's 7% is good right now, and that extra 3%, it just doesn't matter if you know how to use the other modes correctly.
Well, I also feel that if you're someone who likes to customize the way you shoot a camera, you actually would like a system that is sort of demands you to be more specific, instead of you wanting to do everything on its own in an auto mode sort of situation. So I think it's a call that Nikon has taken. It's probably not capability. The other thing that people talk about is the how many focus points do you have, as in how many uh, points do you have on the sensor that's aiding you in getting the focus right. So for example, the Canons have some 5,000 or 4,000, some
Can,
crazy number.
can I address that really quickly? Because I think that's
Yeah.
a false claim.
Hmm.
And when I say a false claim, I don't mean it's not true. It is true that the Canon has 5,000 whatever spots, but I also think the Nikon has thousands of spots as well. I think what Nikon's talking about are the selectable spots. And what Canon is not, Canon does not have 5,000 selectable spots. That's not true. They don't. So Canon's listing it in a different way to make their number look more impressive.
So for the rest for the viewers, we're talking about very tiny uh, lenses. Imagine them as lenses, very tiny lenses, incredibly tiny microscopic lenses, which are put on the sensor. And those each of those lenses will actually act as something, almost act as focusing point through those lenses with computational, uh, for, with a lot of smart computing. The camera figures out where to focus. Now, so therefore, that is a reason why you will see mirrorless cameras will have banding if you push the ISO very high, because it is those tiny lenses on the sensor array. So if they're like arranged in simple lines, right? So those lines are the banding lines that you see when you push the ISO very up, like when you go more than 20,000 ISO or so. Now we are talking about how many of those lenses have Nikon put on its sensor or on their camera sensor versus how many of those sensors Canon has um, put on their sensors. And I don't know if it is a capability to go very small. I don't think Canon has figured out a special capability to make those lenses that much smaller compared to Sony and Nikon. So you're right. I don't think that's correct. I mean,
Well, I can tell you right now, the Canon does not, whatever the number is, like 5,000, whatever. I don't remember the exact number, but it's something like, it's in the 5,000s, I think. That is not selectable. You cannot select those 5,000. You can't use a joystick and move around and get those 5,000. It's much
yeah.
less. And it's the
Yeah.
same with Nikon. There's 493 selectable spots, but they have more. And we know that because if you look at the pinpoint, the
Hmm.
pinpoint AF that you can use when you're in AFS, there's way more than 493 of those. There's thousands of them. You can put them anywhere on the screen pretty much, and they're miniature. So I don't know that whole like how many autofocus points you have thing is just relevant at all. I think that's just a smoke screen issue, in my opinion. That's what I think. Ron Pollard's asking about the video features and what we think about the video features. I
We'll Baron will go there. Guess
uh,
who's gonna join my, my live stream for the first time?
who?
Guess. Take a guess. Vagan. Hello, rock and roll.
What's up,
Yeah.
bro?
Listen, you have to switch on a video. It's the first time you have. No matter, you could be lying on the bed, but you should switch on. It's a matter of principle, man.
Hey, man. Hey, dude, it's like 7:26 a.m. here, man.
So what?
Yeah, it's
Is
a
that
busy
okay?
day, man, today. How
Yeah.
you guys doing?
Good,
Oh,
good.
we were just about to talk about something that Ron mentioned. What do you feel about the video features?
Nah, I love it. I mean, I can't wait to get my hands on this camera.
But you already have a Z9, so it may not be particularly new, but well, it's under a kilo. I think it's about 4.5 four and a half, what, 450 grams lighter than the Z9, right? Or about that.
Yeah, something like that. It's 950. What is it? 950
10,
grams.
910, I think. 910, yeah.
910 grams. Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your first live stream.
Thank you. You inspired me.
Good.
Seriously, you did. And like I was fighting it, but then, yeah, it is 910. Yeah, right. That's
Man,
actually not bad, given the kind of size it has, given the kind of weather sealing, the quality of build. It's actually quite astonishing that it's only 200 grams heavier than what an A1.
YouTube is going crazy today, man. It's
Yeah,
crazy. It's
I think the
blazes.
Sony and I think the Sony camp is going crazy, to be honest. But then Sony already knew, right? They knew that Nikon is going to use this sensor, right? Because they're the one that's producing it. So I don't know. Maybe there's something going to happen very soon in the Sony camp that you don't know about. But then they've already launched the A7R5. Baron, do you think there's going to be an A1 update very soon?
Um, Man, I don't know. Like Sony's got some problems. I think like they haven't given any firmware for the A1. It's really pissed a lot of people off.
No, they just released one today.
Oh, did they finally? Well, today, of course, today they had to wait. They had to wait to do something today. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, Sony comes out with new cameras all the time. It's a consumer electronics company. That's their model. Their model is push out new product. So, and sometimes that's in the past they've done some great innovation. I think their innovation has slowed down a lot lately. If you look at more recent models, like the A7R5 is not that much better than an A7R4. It's not really, it's not really, it's not really that significant of an increase. It's like an incremental increase, unlike an A7 III, how an A7 III was like an exponential jump over an A7 II. So I don't know. I think they're all running up against technological barriers, and honestly Nikon's pushing the forefront of that technology now with the new thing is the stacked sensor and the electronic shutter. Like that's a newer sort of, to me that's a more modern advancement than some of the other things. So I don't know. Sony's fine though. They'll always be fine. They have the strongest marketing department of anyone because they have the most money.
But this time I was surprised that Nikon did actually send the camera out to quite a few people. Just maybe a couple of days ahead. But then there are quite a few videos up there. I was surprised to see Ted Forbes upload a video. Manny Ortiz uploaded a video on this. Was there also Dan Watson? I don't know. DP Review. They did a video. I think they pushed DP Review to do a video and said, "Okay, Chris and Jordan are gone, but just put a video out." And then Chris and Jordan did a video from Petapixel. So he had a lot of activity. I'm not sure if did Z9 see this level of activity during the launch. I don't remember. I don't think so many of these guys were involved.
I don't remember. I think I think I think that they were though. I think that a lot of videos came out at least within the first couple days. I
Hmm.
mean,
Well,
Nikon's the brand. It's the off. It's the off. It's funny. It was the premier brand in history, and then it was like in recent times, it's sort of the off brand. It's like the dark horse that no one really knows what they're gonna do. Um, but yeah, I think they can. I think that this camera is the beginning of a new era for Nikon because
Mm.
Nikon has really like the best body of lenses for mirrorless cameras right now as a body. I'm not talking about any one particular lens necessarily, but as a complete like body of lenses, like it's really hard to compete with it's hard to compete with the quality and value and the range now that it exists. And the Z mount is the best mount. They talked about that from 2018. I didn't understand it as well back then, and they sure didn't make use of it back then as much. Because they didn't really showcase it by putting out 1.8 glass, which, although in retrospect, that stuff's amazing, and I've done videos on that, and as you know, but yeah, like the Z mount is coming into its own, and I think we're going to see just an like it's just going to go uphill from here, because a Z6 III is going to be astounding. There's no question.
Gerard says the internet might break today.
Well, if it is, it's surprising because like we're led to believe that nobody uses Nikon, but
Yeah, exactly.
apparently a lot of people do.
But you know what is well, okay. Let's look at it from a different angle, Vagan. Seriously, it takes a certain amount of it takes large balls to give the Z8 everything the Z9 has. I don't know any other camera brand who would do that. Seriously.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this camera performs in a long period of time with video, the heat. I want to know if just how the camera is going to handle that. The heat.
Yeah.
I mean, so again, I was saying earlier, I watched Jared Poland's video because I like to watch his videos about this stuff because he's only going to focus on negative things. So it gives you a sense of, if you want to find out, like, it's like reading the 1-star review. You always read the 5-star review and then the 1-star review just to see. And he did say that that when Steven was shooting with it, he got some kind of an alert saying hot card or something, or a hot card alert. And they pulled the card out of the camera and they said it was like the hottest card they've ever touched, but it still worked. Everything still worked.
The point is, what card? Did he mention which card it was?
Nah, I don't think he did.
That's the catch. That's the catch. Why you do? If you're using video, why won't you use the slot for video where you have the CF Express card?
And I don't know. I don't know if he did or didn't. I'm just saying, but evidently it does go for like it goes for long periods of time in the modes that most people are using. Like I think Matt Earl is talking about that, like in the 4K realm that he uses, which I can't remember which one it is, but he said he got like more than 2 hours out of it. He had to change the battery, or he had it plugged into AC power, I think. But it went that long. It didn't overheat.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, it's not shocking, but it's surprising that they're given. It's basically a baby Z9.
Yeah, it's a Z9, but it's a Z9 with an EN-EL15 battery. So that is one criticism that they also made that Jared Poland also made. He said battery life isn't very good, and that's a relative comment. I think we all know that, because what does it mean to not be very good? Like that's a relative thing. but I do believe that it will not, for example, my guess is it doesn't go like if you had a Z6 II and the Z8 next to each other and you put fresh batteries in both and you shot them exactly the same way, my guess is the Z6 III goes a little bit longer because the Z8 is basically powering a Z9, but with a lesser battery than a Z9.
Yeah,
So-
but
Yeah,
now
but
they
it's
got now they got the dual USB-Cs, so you can have external battery options.
Oh
So
yeah,
you can power this thing up. My thing is with the camera shutting off in like desert heat or something.
No one said that that's a problem yet. No one has talked about that being an issue. So far, it seems like it does pretty well. It's definitely not going to go as long as a Z9 in video in any particular format. It just won't because it doesn't have, but it's going a long time, it sounds like. So that it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't think, I mean, I don't know. It depends on the kind of filmmaker you are, but it shouldn't matter for anything like you guys are doing, for example.
Oh.
I guess if you're doing a major motion picture, then things can start to matter. I don't know, but
Yeah, that grip is big. That grip is big. I'm not going to be using the grip with the Z8.
yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel that way. Like the grip is the same. I was talking to, I think I mentioned this already, Frames. Did I mention this? But the grip is the same exact grip as the Z6 II and Z7 II grip, except they're not interchangeable.
You mentioned it, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of disappointing to me because it's literally no additional functionality. It's the exact same batteries. It's exact same buttons and dials. It looks identical from like if you just look at it like from 2 feet away, apparent. But it doesn't quite fit because I guess the tripod plug moved slightly, so they had to like move where the little points are that touch the camera. So basically you have to get a new one, even though you own the old one and it's identical in terms of functionality. And it makes the camera really big, like really, really big. It's like by far bigger than the Z9. Even the Z6 II is bigger than the Z9 with the grip, but the Z8 with the grip is like really big. So
it's taller.
Yeah. So now I kind of agree with Vahagan on that. Like, I'm not sure I even need the grip at that point. I don't know. I have to think about that because for some portraiture stuff, I like vertical shooting with a grip. But I will say this, if they come out with the grip version with an ENEL 18 battery that it can take an ENEL 18, then I would get the grip. Like that would be enough of a difference to make it worth it to me. Until that point, I have to think about it. I'm not sure.
Why not just get a Z9?
Because I don't want to be forced to always have to have the bigger camera body.
That's the word, always.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Like I'll tell you an example. I did a shoot on Saturday. All right. I had to I had to fly to the shoot. So I had to be light as possible. I had a camera backpack, which is my I can never think of these things. It's right over there. It's the Mind Shift bag, the 26-liter one. It's a great bag. And then I had that bag, and then I had the Pelican roller vault for like the lights, and then I had under the plane one piece of luggage that I had like things like the light stands and the modifiers. But I had to get everything into the camera bag of the camera stuff. So all of the cameras and all of the lenses had to fit in that bag. Z9 wouldn't have been possible. I couldn't.
No, I've actually carried G9 for trips, the Z9 for trips a couple of times, and the problem is that you can't make the camera sit straight because. So I have these couple of Vanguard bags. You have to sort of put it. You have to ensure that it's lying flat inside. So it's a little bit more difficult, sort of, to arrange your lenses and other things around the camera. So I think when you're packing a bag with a Z9, it is not easy. It's cumbersome. So that way, Z8 and a couple of batteries, I think that's much more useful.
So and then someone in the comments said Matt Irwin just said he got 4 hours on one battery shooting photos casually. So that's not really irrelevant to me. Like, and it's not. I'm sure I haven't seen what Matt said. So this is like I'm sure Matt actually said more than that, because to me, like, it's not how many hours I get, it's how many shots I can get. So like I don't like I'm not sure if that matters to me. Like my guess is the battery's fine, but you probably want a few of them, and that's true now anyway. So it's really not a big point because I went through at least 2 batteries on my shoot Saturday with the Z6 II, but I shot all day long. Like it was a 12. Like I shot from like 8:30 in the morning till 7 p.m. So
I'll tell you what my point of view on that is that I think it if you just switch on the camera and hold the shutter button down, and if you count how many shots you've taken, I don't think that's the right way of seeing the battery performance. The right way of seeing is naturally you would give a bit of interval, little gap between each shot, right? And you'll forget to switch off the camera at times. You'll then remember to switch off the camera at times. So in a natural shooting, then you have to see for an average shooter who is a professional shooter and typically would take out his camera for an active period of shooting. If Matt says that for an active period of shooting you can actually shoot for 4 hours, okay, not 4 hours, 3 hours. 3 hours is a decent amount of time to shoot. Now we don't know. He's spoken about shooting stills, not video. That's the other thing. What if you mix in a bit of video, half an hour of video in that? How does that impact the performance of the battery? Those are things. But I think um, minimum you have to pack in couple of batteries with you. You have to keep at least 2 batteries inside your car dashboard, things like that. You have to plan for it, that's all.
right,
Or
right.
probably Nikon may actually launch a more energy dense battery going forward, because you remember, Sony has done it, Fuji has done it in the past. It's possible to improve the amount of
Well,
energy that you pack
well,
in the same battery.
Nikon did it too with the C. The C battery has more than the
Yeah,
B battery. So, and
exactly.
Mosman mentions that his Z9 fits in his Mindshift 26-liter bag, and I agree it does. And the reason I know it does fit is because my Z6 II with the battery grip also fits, and that's bigger than the Z9. It doesn't fit comfortably though. It starts to smash up against the top where I in the configuration that I use it. But my point was, with the totality of the equipment I was taking, Z9 would have been more of a problem. So that was my point. By the way, I just got the 17 to 28 lens, the one that's the Tamron rebadge everyone kind of criticized. That's a great lens. I'll just tell you right now. Like that thing is small and light. I would much rather travel with that than the 14 to 24. It's just much more convenient, and it looks great. Like the shots I got with it are perfect. Like they're perfectly good. I'm not saying the 14-24 is not better. It is. I'm sure of that. But I'm just saying, if you want to if you're trying to be on the go and you're trying to get on airplanes and things like that, that 17-28 is it's really kind of a godsend. Great lens.
Well, I would actually get a Sony version of that in adapted to Z bodies because if you have Sony bodies. Hey, I have a question for Vagan. Now that you have the Z6, the Z50, and the Z9, are you going to get the Z8?
Yes, I think in a perfect situation, I would have the Z9 for vertical grip shooting, and a Z8 without the grip. I think that's what I was referring to when I said, just buy the Z9 in addition to the Z8.
Sense on that, Vahog, and I thought of that too. It just, the thing is, when I shoot events, I shoot with 2 cameras. Like I use 2 Peak Design clips on my belt, and whenever you have like the camera with the like when I use the Z6 II, if I've tried it before where I had a Z6 II with the grip on it, and I tried to click that into my belt, and it works, but it's really like it's not comfortable, and it flaps against your leg really hard, and like it just doesn't work out well. And so I think the Z9 would have the same problem, but that's for specific use case. I'm not, like, honestly, like the Z9 I think is definitely an incredible camera. Like I would have bought it initially, but I thought the Z8 was coming out 6 months later. I didn't think it would be 18 months.
Yeah. No, I don't have my Z50 anymore frames. Got rid of that. But I do use Z6s all the time for the video stuff. But yeah, Z9's not going anywhere. The Z8, I don't know when I'm going to get my hands on one, but I have.
By the way, this is the Z30 with the 24 1.4
Hmm.
f mount. This is a 24 f 1.4 f mount.
Oh,
So I
you
grabbed.
have the 1.4 f mount.
No, I've taken it from Nikon for a few days.
Oh, looks nice. Looks good.
Because I want. I don't
Must
own
be
it.
nice, man.
Yeah. Hey, don't be jealous.
No, I'm not. It's cool. Good for you.
So I took it from them because they wanted a Z30 review, and I said, okay, I'll do it, but I need a lens that fits it right for my room for this studio. So 35 mm focal length, and this is just perfect. And yeah, and it's actually a very nice lens. It doesn't make any sound while focusing. It's quite perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that lens in the past. The 24-14G, right? Yeah. I sold that lens to
Yeah.
an astrophotographer, Lavina. She's actually Indian. I
Yeah.
interviewed her.
Oh yeah. Right. Yes.
I sold it to her. That's how I met her, man. I met her. She came down and I sold it to her.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, come on my show.
Hey, this is an interesting comment by Mossman. 12,000 Z8. Like I think we're all covered, but you don't know. If the Z8 market is much larger than the Z9 market,
It's much
that's
larger,
it.
I think.
Much larger. But I don't know how do you know that, Mossman? Because it's an interesting point that you make that 12 in a month, 12,000 Z8 units in a month, right? And that's before publicity. Now that you have a lot of publicity, more people are going to want it, right? So that number will have to go up next month.
Mm.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Because it is people who want to upgrade from the Z7 II, from the D850, some from the Z6 II, some who thought the Z9 was too big. So you're going to get people from all, and some people will upgrade from Sony and from Canon. They will be. Let me tell you, people are going to shift. People are going to shift from other brands.
Well, they should. They should. The future is pretty bright for the lenses going forward are just going to keep getting better and better. And that's where they're going to distance themselves from the other brands ultimately, which is not surprising because Nikon is an optics manufacturer. Like they're an optical manufacturing company from the start. And Sony and Canon aren't. They weren't. That's not their legacy. And then Nikon made a concerted effort with the Z mount to actually be in a position to build excellent optical lenses for photography going forward. They even said it's the mount for the next 100 years. That's kind of marketing hype, but it still gives an insight into their perspective. And I think we're going to see more and more lens design that's going to be more and more cutting edge, and it's going to be a place where Sony can't follow pretty soon.
I think let's talk about that a little bit, Vagan and Baron. And Mosman, if you want to join, let me share the link here one more time. Okay. I'll share the link. Do you think the Z8 will compel people to shift from Fuji? No, not probably from Fuji because there are people who want tiny cameras, so probably they won't shift. But all the guys who are using the Canon cameras and the R7, A7,
No,
R5 users.
I don't think it does compel people to shift yet. Not yet. What will compel people to shift is down the road as we continue down the road and the lenses start coming out more and more, and there's more and more lenses that are special and kind of unmatched. At that point, people will start to switch. Right now, like honestly, like if you're a photographer, the Canon R5 is still a great camera. Like that hasn't changed today.
Yep.
You know, it's still a great camera. Like, is it as good as the Z8? Probably not as good, but it's 3 years old. It's cheaper and it's virtually as good. Like if you're a photographer. So I don't think you switch because of this. What might make you switch down the road?
Jared says something very interesting on that point of if you're a photographer, R5 is great. He said, but if when you have 20 frames per second, when you have 30 frames per second, when you have that sort of capability, you're shooting fast. You're probably shooting action. And if you can't do that with R5 because you will have distortion. He shows that, right? The Z9 will not give you distortion because the sensor is that much
You're
faster.
talking about rolling shutter, right?
Rolling shutter, yes.
Yeah.
And that's important because with all the capabilities and the fixing that Canon has done for Canon R5, even in video, that rolling shutter thing is not going to go away, and it still doesn't do. It doesn't do internal RAW. It doesn't do that. It doesn't do 10-bit 422. Okay, in normal picture profile, it only does it in log profiles. Now, it's not always that you want to shoot in raw a log. There are times when you want a little bit of wiggle room for you, more room for you to sort of edit your video in post, but you don't want to do that in shoot the entire piece in log.
They're already calling this camera the mini flagship.
Well, that's what I mean. Even Jared Polin said his ultimate comment about this camera that was positive is he said, "You can't beat the value. You're getting flagship quality at $4,000."
Yes,
Like that's basically, and even and if Jared admits it, then it has to be true because he's looking for reasons to say bad things. So even he was like, "Yeah, this is a flagship camera for $4,000." So there's that, and I think that's the truth. I think, Frames, you told me over the last year and a half, 2 years, that you had always believed that they had this camera produced a long time ago and they just hadn't released it.
Yeah.
That seems more plausible today than ever in my eyes, because in fact, they had
Mossman entering.
Huh.
Hello, Mossman.
Mossman.
What's that?
Hey, Frames. Hey, guys. What's up?
Hey.
An alligator.
Sorry.
You guys don't have cameras, huh? I thought you guys were photographers.
I got
I'm
it
on my-
before
I'm on
you.
my- I'm on my
I'm not
phone.
putting a
Aaron,
camera on
I
right now.
tell you, I
Got
kid
it.
you not, man. You're looking different today. You're looking fresh. You're looking like 5 years younger than I saw you last time. I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you're drinking more water or something, but you're looking younger, and I'm looking fucking flabby. Okay, I'm sorry. I've gained 10 kilos, man, in the last 1 year. Anyway,
What I want to know is why is Manny Ortiz in his title he puts rant. I haven't watched the video, but any of you guys seen that video, Mossman?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Better finish your point. Sorry, finish your point because Mossman was a pretender. Yeah.
I don't even know where I was going.
You said that I said something that it's probably true this time.
I was saying that the Z8, it seems like based on what they put out today, it feels like that camera easily could have been designed well before today.
Yeah,
because it basically is a Z9 just in a smaller body, which is great. I mean, that's not meant to be critical, but it's also true, and it's also something that it seems like it wouldn't have taken tremendous R&D to do that. So I don't know.
I said the red lawsuit could be preventing them, and look, that's gone now. Okay, it could be fluke.
I have a theory on that too.
What's the theory?
I think they delayed it just because the Z9 was selling so well. I think when they were in R&D with the Z9 components, they had a smaller body in the works at the same time, but the Z9 sold so well, why not delay it?
Yeah, that's very logical and likely correct. Makes sense. Because there's no other really good explanation for it. Didn't take them all this time to design the Z8. We know that.
No.
That's clear. So, but I'm not like, I have a kind of a negative tone. I think all of a sudden it feels like maybe I'm being negative on this, but I don't mean that because I'm very happy.
You are.
Like, I'm very happy with the camera. I'm like I said, I put my order in like as soon as Nikon site went live. So I'm very happy. I just think that I just want to be like objective and say like the things I think that are really great, which is most of the things, and the things that I'm not so happy about. And there are a few little things that I'm not so happy about. That's all.
Chuck, there's what am I saying? Sorry. Baron, there's an old man joining. Guess who it is?
Well, I think did you spill the beans?
Yeah, I did. Well, all right. I just did. Look, he's got his camera on.
Hey,
Such
Chuck,
a confident young man.
I like that you're using your camera.
Chuck is always
Yeah,
fresh.
it's
Chuck
funny. I was
is
just
fresh
talking to
24
somebody
7.
about that.
Chuck's been all over the place today, man. 4
Yeah,
a.m.
man. Just got off the phone with Nikon. They want to send me their next new model camera to test.
Yeah, that's
Really?
great. That's good, man. You're making progress.
They
I
said,
love it.
congratulations on being exactly right on calling the Z8 so long ago.
You're telling me you're congratulating me, right?
Huh?
You're not congratulating yourself, right? Because I trust you to do that.
Yeah, I'm congratulating myself. I'm going to gloat because I was
Come on.
exactly right.
You didn't call it.
Well, Chuck,
Okay.
Chuck, I have to say, like, you were exactly right about the sensor. I agree with you there. You took the position on several occasions that you thought it might be a Z7 body, and I would say that's not the case.
Okay. Oh, okay. I got to give you guys a little bit, or you're not going to give me my
Better.
due. So yeah,
Better.
yeah.
No,
Did I say
I
it
do.
first?
No, you
Did
were
I-
always. No, I want to say this for the record. It's true. Chuck was always adamant that it would be a Z9 sensor. He never wavered, and he was correct about that.
Well,
Well,
what
it
about
wasn't
me?
just a Z9 sensor; it was a baby Z9. And do we not have a baby Z9? Anybody want to?
Okay.
Anybody want to
Yeah,
say
no,
we
yeah,
don't?
I think that's a fair statement.
I think let's just settle the matter. I think it was about almost 2 years back, and it was
It's funny
a
people
chat.
remember thinking something, but I got it on record.
Okay, no. Chuck, hear me out. Almost 2 years back. Okay, it was with Ryan, Troy, Vagan, and me, and we were talking about Z9, and suddenly, and it was pre Z9. Okay, and we also discussed I think the Z8, and then Vagan said that the Z8 should be a mini Z9, and I thought, how can that be? I honestly, on that day, I didn't believe. I didn't think that any company would do that, give it all the flagship stuff in a smaller and cheaper body.
I gotta go back and watch that.
You did that. You're the
I said
first.
that.
I heard it first. The whole this thing of mini Z9, that utterance, that
Really?
articulation. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but
Because I did not agree with you. I didn't think it was possible. That's why I remember it, because I was sort of I remember feeling something about it.
did
It was not
you
just-
see the slide on the Nikon show? Who's the guy who does their narrating? Who's their MC? What's his name?
Mark Cruz.
Mark. Yeah, on Mark Cruz's presentation,
Mhm.
one of the slides said, like, the perfect. I can't remember the word for it. It was like the perfect successor to the Z9, or no, the perfect follow-up of a Z9 and the successor to the D850. That was on the same slide. Both of those. So basically, they're just saying the same. They're taking both positions. They're saying this is a follow-up to the Z9, so it's like the Z9, but it's a D850 successor. That's what they're kind of like getting. They're having their cake and eating it too.
And if you go to the website, you will see that they're referencing the size and weight. They're referencing the D850. So they're saying fine DFD, but Chuck what's wrong with me? Jared makes an interesting point. How can I mix up Chuck with Jared and Jared with Chuck? Okay, anyway,
Because we look so much alike.
okay, all right, yeah, you're a young man. So okay, so he talks about the fact that it is much more than the D850. It is and absolutely, I agree. It's so much more than the D850.
I'm sorry, guys. You got to let me gloat a little bit. I think I talked about that too, with everybody talking about the D850. The Z8 will be the D850 plus. And that's why I said even 2 weeks ago, when people were still yammering, well, if it's this, blah, blah, this is better than the Z8. I mean, better than the D850.
Yeah.
And there are people that nostalgically don't want to let go of their D850, and they're going to complain. They're going to say, no, it's not. They expect a D880, by the way. There's still people out there that are holding out for another DSLR from Nikon, the D880. That's how attached they are. And, it has nothing to do with capabilities or anything else. But yes, this is here's your D850, people.
So I agree. It's a and I always said it was a D850 replacement, and it is. And it's not that it's not better than a D850. Of course it's better. It has to be better. But if you look at the D850 at the time it came out, as compared to its composition then, it was significantly better than the options. And this is true as well today, except we're at 2023, not 2017. So like it's not that it's, I mean, of course it's much better than a D850. I think that we all thought if it wasn't, we'd be in trouble, because then D850 couldn't do any autofocus it had terrible video autofocus. So
yeah,
we knew that was,
let's not even mention video.
And have we let go of the idea that the Z7 line is going to go away? Have we gotten rid of that yet? Because I absolutely think there is your high megapixel camera.
I agree. I never thought it was going away though. I never thought that. I thought it would be high.
I don't think the Z7 is going to go away.
No, it won't go away.
Well, there were a lot of people that thought that. And I don't mind bringing it up, by the way. Again, I'm just happy now, though. So enough of my gloating. Other than when I start my stream here soon, I have to at least say it was right.
Stream.
Huh?
Yeah. This is your stream.
No, it's not my stream. I'm only going to be in here for a few minutes. I got to get ready for the stream. So I thought
all the people are going to go to your stream now. That's too bad.
No, he has an hour.
It's not for an hour, is it? Yeah,
it's an hour, but I got to eat. I've been going since 6:30 this morning. So yeah.
You mean you're not a cyborg?
No, not at all. And this chair is going to get awfully uncomfortable before I finish the stream this evening, I'm sure.
You don't have live power supply.
So is anybody surprised? Like I'll tell you, my surprise today is, number one, that I'm not surprised, and number two, that they didn't release a lens.
I am. Yeah.
But that may be something that comes here in the next few days. We'll have to wait and see. They weren't going to do anything that takes away from the Z8. That's obvious.
Yeah, I think you're right. I hope they do bring a lens though within a week. I hope
it's the 180 to 600 or 200 to 600, whichever it is. Because
I hope it is too.
I want it, folks. I want it for everybody else that wants it.
I want to stop hearing about it, so that's why I want it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had to listen to the D700 update forever, and then the D850 update forever. So I guess, I agree with you though, Baron.
I want to go back to the Z7 discussion for before Chuck, because we're going to go. I'll tell you the single reason why the Z7 will exist. That's because of common components. It takes very little for Nikon to just use one of the high resolution Sony sensor and put it in the same body that you're making for the Z7 III, and it's probably the same body as the Z6 II and Z7 II. So they're going to save a lot of money, but at the same time sort of offer you a higher megapixel camera.
I think if Nikon's smart, they put the Z6 III out at 2250, and they put the Z7 out at like 2999.
Yeah.
So I've got $24.99 for the Z6 III and $32.99 for the Z7 III.
But I'm saying it should be lower than that.
Well, of course, I think maybe it will be. That was 18 months ago.
Right.
But I'll tell you this. I think we need to get away from the idea that it's going to be another Sony sensor. Don't ask me who, but I did see something recently about an 80 megapixel sensor now. Stacked. I think it wasn't stacked. I can't remember. That would be absolutely ridiculous. At least for right now, it would be. But I don't think it's going to be the off the shelf. And I understand Nikon will design it the way they want, but the off the shelf 60 plus megapixel sensor from Sony, unless Sony has a larger.
I just don't think that Nikon does off the shelf sensors like that.
Well, it's not off the shelf. They have production capability for all these different sensors that Sony imaging does. And it's obviously it's simpler than having them retool to do a completely different sensor. I'm not saying they wouldn't, But anyway, I think that the Z7 III is going to be another shocker. I think that it's going to be 80 megapixel or better, because that's what Nikon's doing right now. Is they're shocking the the folks out there, and it won't be long, and everybody else will have the same high megapixel sensor. But I think the Z7 will be the latter. The Z7 II update will be the latter, because I think that they are working on another sensor.
Hey, I think
whatever.
Mehdi has a very
Go ahead.
I think Mehdi has a very interesting question. So yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Mosman.
I was just going to say I agree with Chuck. I think Nikon has to continue to push the envelope, and they're not going to use a sensor that's already been out for a couple of years in a new camera that probably won't even be released until next year. So they're going to have to continue to push the envelope and use something new.
I say, can we just take a break here and just enjoy what we got for like maybe a few months before we start speculating?
No, because that's not in me, Bogan. As you know, I'm a ranter, and I've built my reputation on ranting. But I think that this camera, and I said this too, I think that when this camera came out, that it would give us a peek and a look ahead for what Nikon's going to do. And I think it's doing that. It's just like, furthering that and aggravating more people, get ready, because what I said about Tom mentioning sooner rather than later for an update to the Z9, I think you can expect that. I don't know when, maybe even next year. That would sound crazy, but get ready.
It's not crazy, because Paris is next year, I think.
Oh, I know. And everybody, that doesn't agree with this will say, well, the Z9 is fine for that and everything else. No, the R1's going to come out, and you can bet the R1's going to be a barn burner of a camera. I think it's going to be a fantastic camera, and I hope that it is. I hope it exceeds everything that's on the market. Why? Because it pushes Sony, Nikon, and others to compete, and that's good for all of us. Just like this camera is good for everybody.
Hey, let's take a few questions from the audience. So Mehdi asked, do you think the Z8 also targets non-professionals? I think it does. The question is, can you use this camera for just for pure love of photography?
Can we just answer that really simply by saying the Z9 was sold to many non-professionals?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
First time camera buyer.
So I think it's pretty obvious the Z8 will, if the Z9 did, at $1,500 more.
But now there's going to be people upset that they paid $5,500.
Well, I don't agree with that for many reasons.
I don't either.
One is you had 18 months of use that I didn't get. I would have traded that 18 months for $1,500 in retrospect.
Yeah.
So,
but there are people upset.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. The Z9 is still a different camera. It's still more rugged. I guarantee you, if you're beating the crap out of both cameras, the Z9 will go longer. It'll last longer. It'll take more abuse.
Yeah.
It's a pro camera for pro use. I mean,
the Z8 has carbon fiber and all that. I think the Z9 is pure metal, right?
Yeah, Z9's magnesium frame, total magnesium frame.
Not the frame, even the body. The body is for the Z8. It's carbon fiber. For the Z9, it's the whole thing is magnesium alloy.
That is the frame. But anyway, that's what everything's built on.
The chassis, the what's inside.
Yeah.
That's a chassis.
The shell.
Right?
The
shell and the chassis. Here the chassis is magnesium alloy and the shell is carbon fiber. But for Z9, both the stuff is both the things are
okay. You got me. But yeah, I think it's one and the same. But anyway,
I wouldn't regret a Z9 purchase if I had made it at all. And I think the Z9 is still, it still has significant reasons to use it as opposed to the Z8.
Sure, it does. I mean, that's why there's always not just the only reason the flagship being the higher tier model with the features that other lower tier cameras don't have. It's because people like the form factor, and that's as much to do with buying a flagship as anything else. And you guys talked about the ruggedness, but I'll challenge that. I think that I think the Z8 is as rugged, and people will argue with me, but I'm controversial. So
no. I agree with that. I agree with that.
I don't. I mean, as rugged is relative. I don't think it's as rugged, but I would say that it's rugged enough. Like, I mean, what's the point that it matters? If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
There you go.
So
yeah,
but I do think even Nikon says. I mean, this is not really controversial what I'm saying, because Nikon even states that the weather sealing is more competent on the Z9 than the Z8.
How?
Because they said it's akin to the D5, D6 versus the other one's akin to the D850, and that was always a different grade of weather sealing.
Well, how is it more weather sealed?
I'll tell you right now. The door. I'll tell you right now, just from what I've seen, just like looking at it, the door of the card compartment is not as weather sealed on the Z8 as it is on a Z9. And that's where water gets in, and that's where it gets to the main motherboard and destroys a camera. So there is exactly how. I can tell you
but Baden, tell me if I'm wrong. Isn't it the difference between Usain Bolt and the guy who was like 0.1 second slower?
Say again, I lost you. What?
Isn't that the difference between Usain Bolt winning the race and the guy who comes third place or second place because he's slower by 0.1 seconds?
So for 99 point whatever percent of the shooters, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not good. So again, nothing I'm saying is that it's bad. It's not bad. It's very good. I'm sure the Z8 weather sealing is better than Sony. It's better than a Sony A7R5.
I can't say that. I mean, there are people that talk about that, or whatever. But I want to go back to. I'm not comparing this to other brands. I just can't go there. One, I'm not an expert on the other brands. I don't shoot the other brands, and it's not because they're no good. It's because I prefer Nikon, and I'll leave it at that rather than my dog's bigger than your dog.
That wasn't the point. I'm just trying to make the point that the weather sealing is a factor for Nikon that's very important in their design, more so than a lot of other companies, and that's a well-known fact in the industry. But my point is the Z9 is a superior weather sealed camera. And we know that. Number one, Nikon said so, like straight up. They're not even denying that. They're actually promoting that fact. And number two, the door itself, just from the visual, I could see that the door is akin to the Z6 and Z7 door, which is vastly inferior to the Z9 door when it comes to weather sealing. That's just,
okay. Now, I think the Z8, like the Z9, is the beginning, right? So we question, what about the Z5 Mark II? And Tim Hunter says, I'm devastated that it was the ZF.
He says that because he wants to pull my chain.
All right. So I think that's like this is like triggering people to now want more from Nikon and to see what else now. Where is my Z5 Mark II? Where's my Z6 Mark II? Where's my Z90 or the ZF? That's like I think the Z9 will be very interesting, exciting camera.
Yeah, no, it is. But I don't like. I mean, now that I'll have a Z8, like I don't need a fast DX camera because I'll just shoot the Z8 in DX mode. But that's because I'm willing to spend the money. I recognize that. So
yeah,
if you wanted to get the same thing for like 2,500, then you would need to have the dedicated DX camera. I get that.
Yeah. And there's, I think there's always place for a D. So the next thing is, okay, now we got the D850 replacement. You know what went beautifully with the D850? The D500. Where is the D500 replacement? I think that's a valid question. I think there's no, okay, it'll probably sell less numbers than the rest of these cameras, but it's fine. It's a very specialized tool for a certain kind of use, and it's fine. And today, the crop sensor cameras have so much use because you can use them better on gimbals for video shooting.
So just like
Super 35 is fantastic for video shooting.
Just like they have a Z6 and a Z7 in the identical form factor. There's no reason you couldn't just put a Z90 into a Z8 body and just have it be an APS-C camera in the Z8 body.
Yeah,
and
make
that
it to be smaller if
no,
it's
well,
APS-C.
if you the D500 and the D850 were the same size, and I don't think you want it
Yeah,
smaller. You don't want it smaller.
All right.
I'll tell you why you don't want it smaller. People that are using the DX sports camera like that are using long lenses, almost not exclusively, but like the vast majority.
That's
and when
an
you have
point.
and when you have a grip, you want all of your fingers on that grip. So
Absolutely,
actually, it's a better body size for that specific camera than a smaller one, 100% from a use case point of view. So I actually think that you take it's economies of scale. You take the Z8 body, you throw in a stacked APS-C sensor, you call it the Z90, and you throw it out there for $2,500. It sells all day long.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting comment by Louis. Something that allows you to record to an external SSD. I think that's a very interesting thing. But you can record into the Ninja, right? The Ninja 5 and the Ninja 6.
Yeah.
So
that's via HDMI. Yeah, so that's interesting. Could that be a firmware update, down the road for the Z9 and the Z8? I don't know. I don't know how the architecture works, the dual pipelines. I mean, I understand how that works, but I don't know if you have to tap into that for recording externally. You would think that it would be the same as recording into or through HDMI, but who knows? Maybe USB-C is capable of doing that. So I would hope that that's something that happens down the road. Not that I need it, but just to take that off the plate, the recording anyway.
There you go. Right? 24 megapixel APS with X-Speed 7. Yes, absolutely. I agree with you, Gerard. Okay, and the other thing that, powerful Bible promises, I wish I knew a name. This is a very interesting point. I think we still want we need Steve Perry's of the world to actually show us how the Z8 does against the Z9 in some certain I think, because see, Nikon somewhere talked about better autofocus with telephoto lenses. I saw that on Nikon rumors. I don't know whether that's true now.
Maybe that was just one of his sources that said they felt like it was better or something. I don't know, but yeah, they didn't present anything. So I don't expect the Z8 to be any different than the Z9. It's the same architecture, everything else. The only thing that would change that would be AI.
Well, they said they have they call it deep learning. So who knows what that means?
Well, yeah, I mean, now we're talking AI to make minute changes in autofocus.
Right. But is deep learning AI? Isn't that the same thing in effect?
Well, I don't know. But, we went down that too with somebody arguing with us about deep learning. It's either in the camera or it isn't. But so I don't know how the camera learns, but maybe it does. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
That's thinking on its own, if you ask me, and that's scary.
Yeah.
Hey, Vagan, what do you think of this? What do you think of an APS-C body? Is it there? Oh, he's probably not there.
Powerful Bible promises says Nikon said in the presentation today that they trained the autofocus AI better for Z8. So if that is the case, and I missed half of the presentation being in a live stream at the same time. If that's the case, then yeah, that would be a firmware update for the Z9 because all that's firmware capable.
Yeah.
I expect the Z9 to get everything the Z8 has.
Absolutely, it will. Yeah.
And it should.
Yes.
It should. And they're just bringing it out in the Z8 first so that the Z8 has sex appeal. And then the Z9 will get it rapidly thereafter, which is how it should be. So,
well, again, I said that expect that there may be better option or better capabilities in the Z8 than the Z9. And of course.
I'm actually surprised that they didn't make a headline out of this thing. Autofocus better, autofocus AI. They should have done marketing around AI and just focused on it, because that would have actually allowed the conversation to go there, and we could have asked specific questions about the AI thing, and we would probably learned better. And all the guys who have the Z8 with them right now, they would have tried to understand, okay, how is AI is actually better? Because let me tell you, for A7R5, a lot of people actually didn't understand how it's better till Sony pointed it out to them. I think it takes you months for you to understand some of these improvements,
Yep.
because you have to be in that sort of situation, face that sort of difficulty in order for you to understand, okay, this is how it did better than my previous camera. I think Nikon should have highlighted it more. I don't know where Mosman and Vagan is, but guys, please pitch in and
All
share
right.
views
Hey,
on this.
I got to get out of here. I got to grab something to eat and get ready for my stream. And but thanks for letting me come in for a minute and tear your stream up.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining on my first stream, and yeah, really thanks a lot, because you really bring that personality in, and yeah, and you have strong opinions on things, and it was fun seeing both Baron and you go not go at each other, but almost at it.
Sometimes people say this, and everybody takes it. Yeah, sure. But I love Baron. I love. He challenges me, and I hope I do the same for him. And that's what brings about the discourse. Neither one of us are going to hate each other. I don't think. Sure won't.
No, of course not.
And that's the spirit of the discussion. So absolutely.
Yeah. So guys, if you're watching,
honestly, what we're saying isn't even that much different to really break it down.
I just say it in Southern slang, and it makes it different.
Hey guys, I'm listening. I'm just taking my kid to school.
All right, great.
I'm listening though.
Cool, great. So only 23 people are listening in and watching, and I wish that there were more. I have a certain.
You are competing with everybody on the internet right now.
All right. That's true.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is a talk you could have in a couple of days when the hype dies down. Then people that are still interested will come. But I think it's fine, because we're just kind of giving our thoughts on what we saw. I'm looking forward to this camera. I love the fact that the form factor is bigger, in a way that because I put an extended grip on my Z6 II, and I already have to mimic this on my own. Now it's just coming out of the box, which is great. And then I like the backlit. The backlit buttons are huge. That's a huge improvement. Something else I said that they would definitely put on there. And I like the mode buttons, not the dial. I like that stuff much better. My camera's on manual 100% of the time. That dial is a waste for me. So I like having the mode buttons.
So the point I was going to make, Baron, though, was that although right now it is going to come down to 21 people, but if to the 21 people watching the show right now, please go and subscribe to Baron Photography Discourse. You just have to type Photography Discourse in the search box and find Baron. And let me tell you one thing about Baron. I actually don't. The only other person that I can think of when I think of Baron is actually Gerald Undone in somehow, because I don't know anyone who is as technical as that.
That's high praise, because Gerald.
No, I know, but I'm saying you have the same sort of personality, right? And so going deep into it, things which is fun because makes for great conversation, makes for great content, and a lot of you make people think. And so that's, guys, definitely go to Photography Discourse and subscribe. And Vagan just left, but this is an opportunity for me to ask some people to go and subscribe to a pretty large YouTuber right now in the YouTube sphere right now, and subscribe to Photography. And what do I say about Chuck? Of course, if you're joining a live stream, you probably know about Chuck already, especially in the Nikon's community. So
Chuck is the king. He's the king of live streams.
Yes,
sure.
give 22 subscribes to Chuck. And Mozman, whenever you come on the internet with your own channel, brother, we'll be ready with for you. I don't know why you put an alligator as a picture though.
That's a
It's
cool
scary.
picture.
Yeah, it's cool, but does he want to say something about him with that, or it's just a random?
Yeah, alligators are sneaky, man. He's always creeping up
Oh
on you
yeah.
with great comments and things. So yeah, and then he just snaps.
I agree with Roy. AI and deep learning are different, but um, a l- so a lot of deep learning goes into AI. Isn't isn't the whole thing about machine learning is that it continuously updates and
Everyone say bye to Chuck. Bye, Chuck. We'll see you
I gotta
soon.
go.
I
Gotta
can't believe
go.
we're going, but all right.
Oh, yeah. I show up to your live stream, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh,
All
right
right.
then.
I'll talk to
I'm gonna
everybody
see
over in
you.
the other live stream if you choose to join. We'll be on for a while. We're going to go through all this again and everything else. So everybody gets to rant or praise. It's up to you.
Fair
I'll
enough.
continue to rant, but anyway, that's just me. All right, guys. I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks.
All right. Bye,
Thanks.
Chuck.
Thanks for the conversation, Baron. I always enjoy it. And thanks to Frames for allowing me in his first live stream and breaking up the conversation and everything else. V, I'll talk to you later, man. And
No
Moz
problem.
Man, Alligator Man up there. All right, Moz. I'll see you guys over in the chat or on the stream. Everybody's got invites. It's already out there. So I hope to see everybody. We'll talk a bit later. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye, Chuck. See you. I actually like what Powerful Bible Promises says. I do think there are some advancements in the Z8 that Nikon probably take 3 months, 4 months to push it to the Z9, and I think there are improvements that we need to discover, because now we come to a point where the improvements are so subtle that you have to get to a certain kind of situation or shooting condition in order for you to actually figure out, okay, this is how it is better.
Hmm.
and and this is just the first day, and most of the reviewers had only what, 1 day or a couple of days, or some people had it for a couple of hours before they had to release a video. um, so I think there's lot more to unpack, especially for the autofocus. So there are a few things that you need to know more about. Does it have better autofocus? Number one. Does it have um, long video recording capability? Does it overheat? That is. What about the battery life? How does it actually shoot? What about the buffer in the two different card slots? And if you take it to extreme conditions, environment and weather conditions, how does it perform? I think these are the five buckets where we still need to see real world proof of performance. And I think that will not happen in just 1 week or 2 weeks. I think that's going to take a few months in order for us to understand, because you need real users. You need people like, what's that guy's name who goes to like really snowy -40 degree, -20 degree situations and shoots wildlife. I forgot
Oh,
his
the
name.
Alaska guy?
Yeah, Martin something.
I know who you mean. I can't remember.
Morton
Yeah.
Hilmer.
Yeah. Him. I think we need to watch him do stuff, and then understand what you're talking about the whole weather sealing bit. Yeah.
No, I mean we already know. We already heard the story about the Z9 outperformed the A1s in the snow.
Yeah.
That was already we already know that.
But Sony's not a competition there.
Right.
This is Z8 versus Z9. Sony's not in the frame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, but the Z8 is going to be closer to the Z9 than the A1 is.
Yeah. And this is also true. I actually expected to see a lens today. I actually expected to see the 200 to 600. Then it is surprising that we didn't see a lens today. So yeah, because
Well, maybe they didn't want to take away from the Z8. That makes sense to me. That part.
Yeah, but the the 200 to 600 is not long. I think it's only a few weeks, maybe just a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, we already know they have to put out 5 more lenses in 2023, right? Isn't that what they said?
Yeah.
So that means if that's true, we're in the middle of May already. So that means there's only 7.5 more months to put out 5 lenses.
Yeah, but then they are you counting till March or till December?
That's a good. No, I was counting till December, but you might be right. Maybe it's till March. I thought they said 2023, but maybe you're right.
Yeah, but then see, last time they meant financial year and not calendar year. So I don't know.
Okay. But
what
still,
they
okay,
mean.
so then that would still be what, 9 or 10 months for 5 lenses. It means you need to do a lens every 2 months.
You know what is actually surprising to me? I didn't think they're going to give us 8K 60. I really did not think that.
Yeah.
I really thought that they're going to. I didn't think they're going to give us internal RAW. That is surprising to me. To be honest, I'm quite surprised that they did give us internal RAW and 8K 60.
Yeah.
That's incredible because it is a smaller body. It does have a smaller battery and much cheaper. I mean, honestly, there is nothing that competes with Nikon right now in terms of video capability. Nothing, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
This is the best video camera on the market.
Well, so was the Z9, right? I mean,
no, but okay. Z9 still has. You still have to pay like $1,500 more at $4,000.
Right.
Like when A7S3 and people are still talking about A7S3 being the best. Like I've seen so many videos where people talk about the top YouTubers and what camera they use.
Me too.
And it was always the A7S3, right? Now, look at the same price. At the same price, it's probably cheaper than FX3. The FX3 is, I think, $4,300. I think so. It's cheaper than the FX3, Sony FX3. And then we have all this. This is incredible. I honestly. So I'll go back to that point. This is A1 plus A7S3 plus A7R5. The speed of A1, okay, the accuracy of A1, the video capabilities and more of A7S3, and slightly less resolution than the A7R5, but a lot better weather sealing and otherwise handling capability. It is honestly 3 cameras in one.
Yeah. So yeah. So there's a lot of noise over there, Vahagen.
Oh.
Anyway, yes, I agree with you. It is. I think that objectively, like, I don't see how you can, it comes down to just the camps of people, what they're invested in, what they already shoot. And that's true for us too. I mean, it's true for me as a Nikon shooter. Of course, I do have a bias, but the objective facts are hard to deny. So objectively, the camera seems to be as capable as any camera, but actually more capable in many, if not all respects. So I just glad we have like really competent cameras now to put these amazing lenses on, because again, the Z system's strength is the lenses. The bodies will come and go. There's going to be a Z8 Mark II at some point, and it's going to be better than a Z8 because it's going to be the second version. But the lenses that go on these things, they make the difference. I shot with like that 35-1.8S that you don't really like is such a great lens. I think you should give it another chance.
No. I have changed my mind about it since then. I mean, I just saw Mateo's pictures, his photography, and oh my god, he just put it to use, and he just juiced it out, right? All of his pictures are from, I think, on the taken on the 35 1.8. All of those pictures that I showed,
Yeah, it's
and
great.
I'm going to bring him on soon, and I want you and Vagan to be part of that chat. I think it's going to be a great chat. He is such wonderful. He's a great photographer, man. I mean, honestly, he did inspire me. He actually made me feel like I want to shoot wedding photography. I actually
Yeah,
called up my
yeah,
friend and said, "Hey, do you know anyone who wants wedding photography services? I'm going to go and shoot." I'm
yeah, yeah. He
like,
he 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 did a great job. That was some really nice work
yeah,
for sure. But yeah, that I mean, I've been shooting weddings with the 35 1.8s for a long time, and I think it's great. It's small, it's light, it's great image quality. The rendering's fantastic. The out of focus areas look great. Can't say enough about it. Used it last Saturday, not for wedding, but for a corporate kind of job. So shot procedural, like med spa procedural images with that lens, and they came out great.
And so for everyone who is planning to get a Z8, so this episode is titled "Let It Sink In." Yeah. So for everyone who is planning to get a Z8, your lenses, all of your lenses are going to get an upgrade in autofocus. If you thought you had a slightly slower 51.8, now use it on the Z8 and see what it can do. Yeah.
That's a good point. Well, we know on the Z9 that the autofocus is faster, but they also have the bigger battery. So it'll be interesting to see how the Z8 does with the same battery. But we know the AF system is better. So it's just as far as how it drives the lenses, we'll see.
Yeah. I want to see Joe join the chat, actually. Join, not the chat, the show. So Joe, why don't you actually join us and yeah, and share your excitement. And I wanted to get the Z8. The pressure is on you, brother.
I don't think Joe.
I think Baron made a good point about the battery, and I'm just curious how that's going to affect the super telephotos. The focus speed in those.
Yeah, I don't think it could be as fast. Like, I think we have a physics issue here. I mean, we have to be like, I mean, unless they improve the motor, like, I don't really know how they would.
No. It's about the power output from the battery to the circuits, right?
Right. So there you go.
If you push in the same amount of power, if you don't restrict the width of the pipe through which the power is being pushed out, then you don't have a problem. You're just going to deplete the battery sooner. That's all. And I think it's much better to
wait
not
a second.
the battery. Yeah.
So how do you explain the fact that the Z9 pushes the focus on the big telephoto lenses faster than the Z6 too?
Because it's got a much better sensor and much better processor. I don't think it's about power.
Okay. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out.
See, example. The Canon R8 has the same autofocus as the R6 Mark II. Very different batteries.
Okay. That might be true. I don't know.
But the R3 is faster. Yeah. The R3 drives focus faster than the other ones.
R3. Well, that's a different sensor and that's a different level of technology, I think.
No, but it's the same processor.
Yeah, it's the same processor, but not the same sensor. It's a different sensor, different internals.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the R3 drive both focus motors? And when you drop down to like an R5, it's just driving one focus motor on their super teles?
I don't actually know. I have no idea. That's a good question.
Come again, Mosman. What's that question?
I think I read somewhere that the R3, when you're using that with a super tele, it's driving both of the focus motors. But if you drop down to like one of the smaller bodies, at that point you're just using one motor.
Oh, I didn't know that actually. It's. I know that
I could be wrong, but I thought I read that.
No, but I have heard that when the Canon cameras go, so when they're drained of battery, like when they're below 50%, that does impact the autofocus capability in those cameras. It's true for R5, true for R6. I don't know if it's true for R3 as well.
And the frame rate, doesn't it throttle the frame rate?
Yeah, as well. Yes, it does. Yeah. But Nikon doesn't do that. And you know what? buy a better battery. I mean, yeah, the life of your battery will be shorter. Literally, as in, if the battery was going to go for like 2 years or 3 years, it's going to have a shorter life. That's fine. I mean, I think that's a trade-off.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. I don't think it'll be as good as the Z9 in driving that stuff. And I think that might be one of the differentiators, because again, the Z9 is supposed to be the apex of the sports camera. And it stands to reason that
wrong. I so want you to be wrong.
Well, I don't think we're talking about a big difference though. That's the thing. Like for me, it won't make any difference. For the sports shooting that I do, they would be equally as good. It would only matter at the highest level.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're right.
So it doesn't actually matter for most people. It only matters for the people that it matters for, like the guy on the sidelines at the Olympics, and the guy on the sidelines in the NFL game. And those are the guys that should be shooting Z9s. That's what they're for.
Well, to be honest, what I'm more interested in is to see how it does during video in that completely automatic mode, because I think that's where Sony does fantastic. Even Canon doesn't do that well, right? And Fuji definitely not. I mean, they have a long way to go. I'm very curious to see that. I'm very curious to see if it doesn't have an eye to detect, if it is between objects. Let's say I have a laptop in front of me, and then behind the laptop there's a desk and a chair or something else, a water bottle. As I sort of shift the view, can it intelligently understand that the focus point needs to shift? The Sony does it very well. You just let the story happen in front of you. It knows where to focus.
Yeah.
It has a sense of, okay, people typically put what's very important right in the middle of the frame. People typically want to focus on what's in front of the frame and not what's in the background. It has a good sense of where to kind of prioritize. And it is not the ability to focus. It is to sort of make that decision. Number one. Number two, I've seen these cameras, the Z6 II, Z7 II, Z30, not Z30 so much, Z50. They can't settle on one object. They're they're shifting between the background and the foreground. Instead of doing that, if you settle on something, the focus looks smooth. Sony never does that. It picks one particular subject, and then it keeps tracking that. And if you think it's wrong, all you have to do is touch the screen and change the focus point. But Nikon will keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So the shot is completely ruined, and you don't have a great experience. I think that's why I'm very curious to see what's happening on that front for Z8. And when I spoke to Nikon about 2 months back, and I said, this is my big pain point when it comes to Nikon. They said, listen, we're sorting this out in the Z8. You're not going to see that problem. So I want to see a lot of people shooting videos and making films on the Z8. And we've seen a lot of people do that during today's release videos. I saw a lot of pictures where people are shooting gimbals. So
yeah,
man, this Z8 time slot launch couldn't have come at a worse time for West Coasters, man. Seriously, middle of the week, 8 a.m. right now, school for kids.
Fucking bargain sounds wrong.
I want to apologize to you, Frame. Sorry, man.
No, not at all. I understand you're dropping kids, and you still, you still have joined in. That's thanks a lot, man. I mean, that's really.
Come on, man. I don't want to miss your first live stream.
And I had no plans, honestly. I thought, okay, let's just do it.
It was easy to set up, right?
No,
no.
The Z6. I don't know, the Z6 is not live streaming, man. Hey, look. There's a young boy in the room. Okay, be nice to him. Very
Be
young,
gentle.
very, very young,
be,
fresh.
be gentle. I've been up since 4.
Joe Man's Land.
Hey guys, how's it
Yeah.
cooking?
What's up, Joe?
Hey,
Hey,
what's that behind you, Joe? What's that? Okay, oh, that's a bird. That's a little birdie. Yeah.
it's
Okay.
a burnt out flamingo. I forgot to
Uh,
plug it in. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning and I was like, all right, got to record this, got to live cast. Can't live cast, haven't done it before. YouTube was like, you've never done a live stream, so you can't live stream it. So then, yeah, it was just kind of
Sell
anarchy ever
your
since.
Z6 and get the Z8.
I am so tempted, Frames, but my computer can't even do 6K footage, let alone 8K. I
Doesn't
wouldn't even know
matter.
what to do. Where would I even start? I'd be like, man, like this is too clean. The footage is too good.
So, you're waiting for the Z6 III.
Yes, I am, but I have to say I was really happy with the Z8 drop. I think there's going to be a lot of folks that want to come over, and I did a video recently. It was talking about like 5 reasons why you should buy the Z8, maybe. And it really focused on the hybrid aspects of it. So the fact that Nikon really leaned into that with the release and was like, this is photo, this is video, and really pushed the video specs at the launch,
Mm,
I thought was really awesome. I know that
mm,
there's going to be a lot of photo purists that are going to say like, oh, like
yeah.
not the camera for me. And you're right, it probably won't be the camera for them, but for like a hybrid shooter that needs one camera to like, do their events and needs to do photo and video at the flip of a switch and can't afford to switch camera bodies, this could be a really, really great option. And the fact that it's doing all of that 10-bit raw internally,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just like how are they doing that, and how is it not
12,
overheating?
12-bit raw. 12-bit raw, I think, no?
12-bit
I
raw,
think.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's nutty,
You
man. It's nutty.
You know what is surprising? I'm just repeating this point again. I really didn't think that they're going to actually give us 8K 60. I didn't think they're going to give us 8K 60. I didn't think they're going to give us raw video recording internally. I didn't think they're going to give us, but they did.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, they are the two crucial things. They could have easily left out. No one would have complained. No one would have complained. They said, okay,
Well,
I understand.
We have to still see how long they go for and things like that. I do think that'll put stress on the battery, and it will do those things. It won't do them as well as the Z9.
But you can have power supply. That's the thing.
Well, yeah, but it would still heat. It would still. It would.
Huh.
I still don't think you would get the longevity, even with power supply, that you would get because of heating issues.
8K 60. 8K 60. If you get it straight for 40-45 minutes, it's good enough.
Exactly, and that's what it will be. But that's my point. Good enough. It depends on good enough for who. Good enough for 99%? Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely.
But there's still that 1% or whatever it is. I'm just making the number up, but there's still some small minority that it's not good enough for, and that the Z9's better.
Well, I mean, either way though, if you're looking at like recording time, like who's got the memory cards or the storage to record past 45 minutes of 8K 60? Like, I think at that point we start to look at storage capacity issues and like computing power as well. Because for the most part, like even my like M1 has trouble rendering on a 6K timeline. Like it can do 4K just fine, but I think until storage catches up and we're looking at folks editing in that higher res, like on average, I don't know. I don't think there's going to be really too many people that run into recording time issues with overheating. Like it's just, I don't know. Like if you're recording for those longer times, typically most video shooters would go down to 4K or would go down to 1080.
What I'm actually blessing. What I'm interested to see is if we gonna get maybe dual native ISO base for video. That could be if they do that somehow. But that's a hardware thing also. That's a hardware thing. I don't know if that can be done through a firmware. Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see some people go out with this camera, like literally just this camera and like 2 to 3 lenses, and just create some spectacular stuff, both for photo and video. Like I feel like for those people that are doing like backcountry hiking, all that kind of stuff, this would be like the one camera you would take with you. Like you wouldn't need to take, whole plethora of things, and then obviously using the DX crop. And if you're wanting to get a little bit more length out of your zoom lenses, with the 45 megapixels on there, you're not really sacrificing too much there as well. So theoretically, you could run with like a 70-200 as your telephoto, and then rock that crop, and get some pretty great photo and video results from it as well.
Yeah. Well, to answer your powerful Bible promises, I actually didn't get the Z9, Z8, and those pictures were not shot by me, but it's a quite a famous photographer. It's her work, and I've sort of met her personally. She's a great photographer, and quite popular in India, but not me. Yeah.
But you could be
Yeah.
there. You could do it, Frames.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I asked
Uh,
for it. I'll probably get it by the 15th or maybe by I think they said that they'll try to give me Z8 unit post 15th,
No,
which
I
is
meant
next
I meant
week.
you could shoot the weddings.
Yeah, yeah, I could. Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't. Um, do not. But yeah,
Hey, Frames,
I
I'm taking it a step back though. I was watching those like amazing wedding photos, and I was like, I'm gonna be shooting my first wedding here in like a week on the Z6, but with like old F-mount glass. It's like, oh man, this is like really nice. And I'm like, okay, I gotta like try to emulate some of this and try to match it because like honestly, the creators they had in the release, like the ambassadors they chose, some of the
yeah.
content they shared was awesome. Like that wedding video they did, like I was blown away at the quality of that shoot. Like it looked so good. So I really like the fact that Nikon obviously was like plugging the stats and like being rah rah us, but they actually had some really great use cases with a really wide variety of creators, which I think is exemplary for what the camera should be able to do ultimately.
By the way, so the videos they run on the screen, if you go inside the Nikon India offices, so the colors are spectacular. So I asked them, I asked them, okay, which picture profile did you shoot this on? They were all on Z9, shot on Z9. So they checked. I said, I don't know, let me check. So after about half an hour, they came back, said, okay, all of these video footages, they're all shot in Nikon RAW, in NRAW, and with F-Log, and they use the LUT on it. So the new
The
Z9
LUT
LUT.
is awesome. It's so good.
Yeah,
I use that on my D-Cinelike footage out of my pocket actually, and like the colors are just awesome. Like I know it's obviously not a true correction to Rec 709, but it's awesome. And I've tried using it on my Z6 with like a flat LUT that I downloaded, but it was
yeah.
just 8-bit, so it made me look like a giant tomato. So it didn't quite
Yeah,
pan out.
exactly. It does that too. It does that. It does that to the Z6 and Z6 to flat profile.
Yeah.
But
But
I
guys, I got to run, Frames.
Yeah.
I got to go. Sorry, but good talking to you guys, and I'll be listening. I'm just driving up the mountains here in about 10 minutes, so I got to jump. But good seeing you guys, and thanks for having me on.
See you, Joe.
great seeing you. Great seeing you, Joe. See you.
Yeah, bye guys. Enjoy the rest of the release.
Well, Frames, what do you
Yeah.
think? Have we covered the situation?
I think we have covered the situation. I'm just sad that um we could speak much to Vagan, but it's also early morning there. I mean, I understand. I think a lot of people are still to wake up or probably catch up with what has happened.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
isn't it true? Yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
time
think
is
so.
it there for you?
Well, I'm in Central Time, so it's almost 11 a.m.
Oh, okay, all right. And for Matt right now, it must be like midnight almost. Yeah, it's definitely he's probably sleeping.
You started your
Matt
stream
Irwin? It's like
Matt
2
Yeah.
It's like 2 a.m. for Matt.
Yeah. Vagan, you would say something.
you started your stream at the same time Matt did.
Oh, Matt did started his. I didn't know that. Oh, I see.
Yeah, Matt had a stream.
Yeah, he did it live.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay.
Are you guys going over to Chuck's at 9?
I'll see. I have a video to edit after this. I want to quickly post a video on what I've mostly spoken about everything here, but yeah, I want to post that video. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Frames, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I think it was a good talk. I think the summary to me is that it did end up, it is literally a baby Z9. It's also a D850 successor. So it's both. And that's great.
We have to find out that video where Mr. Vagan spoke about the Z8 being a baby Z9 for the first time. Yeah, I'm gonna find that
That
video.
was like with Ryan Troy, huh?
Yeah,
I
but
thought so, yeah.
it's just as much of a D850 successor though to me. Like
Yeah.
the truth is the Z9 was the D850 successor. It's just that it didn't have a
Yeah.
detachable grip. That's
Yeah.
it. So like to me, it's like calling like it's like saying, you know, is it red? Is it magenta? Is it you know, like it's like the same thing, just different names. So I just like it's.
I mean, this is basically a Z9 that's gonna fit on a gimbal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's gonna balance much better on most gimbals. It's gonna be, I don't know, it's a phenomenal camera.
Yeah.
Hey, before parting, just I have one question for all of you. Is there anything that disappoints you though?
About the camera, or about the announcement?
The Z8, yeah.
The grip disappoints me somewhat, I would say, because I don't like that I have to buy the same grip again. That's like exactly the same grip, but it just doesn't happen to fit because of one screw.
I'd say the flip screen, not for me, but for a lot.
I always disagree. Like I agree with you, Vahagan. Not for me, I don't have any problem with it. I actually prefer it this way.
No, but the A7 R5 screen could have been there, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I just don't know like how many
you
people
already have the technology. Nikon could have done that.
Well, the A7 R5 screen is probably not as robust as this screen. I'm guessing that it doesn't take damage as well. Like it probably just it's not going to hold up to the beating in the same way. I think the Z6 III should have that screen.
Mosman, what do you think? What is there anything that disappoints you?
Well, I'll just say this:
hoping for something else to drop today. I was hoping for at least a lens and, you know, maybe some new software.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say this: you're gonna hear the people come out and say Nikon can do a flip screen all this time, you know. So I don't know.
I mean, flip screens really aren't for. I don't know. Flip screen, like to me, like it's not. This camera's not directed at the use case of people who use flip screens, really. Right? It's just not. Like the only exception is if you want to put the camera into the corner of the room, like because you have not, and you literally have to be standing in front of it to the side, and you flip the screen around so you can see what you're shooting. That would be one case where I could imagine needing a flip screen, but that's so rare. I can't even like. I have to like stretch my mind to imagine it. And as far as shooting like this, like I have my Z6 II right now. It works perfectly with the Ulanzi little hot, like cold shoe mount that with a little mirror in it for $10. Like, and if I want to go vlog outside, I wouldn't be using a Z8. That's a bad choice. So
I'll tell you what I did.
Yeah, I mean, Nikon put more effort into that Z9 screen than they did, you know, making a flippy screen.
Yeah, it's probably a better screen. It's probably much more solid as far as taking, you know, being able to withstand damage. And that's the point of the pro bodies. They're supposed to be like, they're hard to break. That's the idea. I'm pretty sure an A7R5 breaks really, really fast compared to a Z8 or a Z9 if you put them against the same stress.
I am a little, I won't say, I won't call it a disappointment, but I actually expected the Z8 to be a little lighter, maybe at 800 grams, not 910. That's just it. The size is all right, but I also sort of I was a bit surprised that it didn't have that what do you call that Baron, on the left side of the camera. You had the you know, the
dial.
This, yeah, the dial. Yeah,
you're surprised?
Yeah, I'm surprised that it doesn't have that.
No, the Pro UI never has that. Never.
No, it doesn't have the one that you have on the Z9. That's what
you mean it doesn't stick up like that?
Yeah.
So there's a dial on the Z9 that you can affect the
Yes.
frame rate, but if you look at the back of the camera, there's a button for that too. There's a button that you, like on the Z6 II, there's a button where you push and you can change the frame rates immediately. And I don't know that the dial is that important when you have that button. Like, honestly, it's not that much faster. It might not even be faster at all.
The other thing is that they could have easily retained is the third function. How many function buttons do you get? That's the other question that I have.
Well, there's 3. They said there's 3. There's 2 on the front and 1 on the back. They could have had 3 on the front, but I don't. I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that it matters. I mean, they have to. I don't.
I mean, if you look at the Sony bodies, they have so many function buttons. I think they could have just gone.
Yeah, but function buttons aren't. If you can't use them when you're shooting, they're not that great. Like to me, the benefit of the Nikon function buttons is that I can be holding the camera and I can be manipulating them. If I have to step away and push a button like on the Sony, it doesn't help anyway. Not much.
No, if it's placed right, then you can access it with the thumb.
Some of them, but not all of them.
Yeah.
You talk about how they have so many, but I'm like, at some point they're not that useful.
No, so I'll tell the difference. The difference
they
is
do
that
have the focus mode button though, so.
Yeah, and the focus mode button is dedicated now. So I usually program the record button for that on the Z6 II, because the record button has no use in still shooting. It doesn't do anything. So you can program it to do other things. And I usually make it the focus mode changer, but I like that there's a dedicated one, and I can now use the record button for some other function. So now I have another function button. Effectively.
And you know, honestly, these are not complaints. These are like if you have to find something, like if you're paid money to find something.
I'll tell you, if I have to find something, I'm not in love with the grip, the way it worked out. And also, if I really have to find something, I would say the fact that nothing surprised me. That's a disappointment. I'm disappointed by the fact I'm not surprised, but I'm also happy with what I got.
Yeah, I'll tell the surprise. I'll tell the surprise that there is nothing that was dropped from the Z9. That's the surprise, including, I come back to it, including the internal raw recording thing and 8K 60. They could have easily dropped it. No one would have complained. Honestly, no one would have complained.
You're absolutely right. I was expecting it to be a little stripped down version of a Z9, but this is cool. One thing that I'm kind of disappointed in is the price. I would have liked to see it come in at $3,500. But
I think the reason it didn't, Vahagan, is largely because they are going to keep the Z7 in the lineup, and they have to have price point differentiation.
Yeah, but I mean, $500. It's right at the borderline of.
I think it goes the other way. If I'm them, I do $2,250 for a Z6 III, which should be a better camera than the A7 IV and the R6 Mark II, but for $250 less. And then for $500 more, I put out the Z7 III because it's the same damn camera, just a different sensor. So you could do like $2,750, $2,800, which is then you're going to sell that camera like crazy. And then you have this camera at the 39 point, and then the 5,500 for the Z9.
Look at Z8 wading in and making controversial comments.
What did he say?
He's saying I would have been happier with less Z9 features and with a cheaper body.
Yeah, how much cheaper would it go? I mean, 3,500 was the cheapest.
Join.
The cheapest it ever could have been is $35.99. So it's what? So it's 400 more.
It's better to pay that 400 and then get all the features.
So Z8 wanted the Canon cripple hammer.
Yeah. Can you believe that? Makes no sense to me.
I don't agree with him. I think he might be kidding.
He's probably kidding.
I think he's just joking around.
He has a Z9, right?
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah, he does.
So he would like to save every penny on the Z8. Yeah. And remember how many people actually expected. Oh, okay, he's at work. How many people expected that the Z8 will actually have less frame rates per second? A lot of people expect it's going to be 12 frames per second or 15 frames per second, but no, it has that full 20 frames per second.
No frames. I said it would be 12 to 15 frames a second if it was a 60 to 80 megapixel camera.
Yeah,
that's what I said. I think it's smart that they kept it the same at the frame rate, but I
Yeah.
don't think the buffer. Well, they acted like the buffer's just as good, but it won't be because you can't shoot to both cards. You can shoot to both cards if you do RAW to the CF Express and you do JPEG to the other one. But if you want to do RAW to both cards, it will not keep up with the Z9.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't.
That's a big difference, actually.
Yeah, it's a big difference. That the Z9 is a sports camera. This is not. This is a sports camera because compared to all the other sports cameras, it's like right there. But in the Nikon lineup, the Z9 is a better sports camera, a better action camera, and it's supposed to be.
Hey, Steve Perry's going live at 11 o'clock.
Great. I'm sure he'll say the same stuff.
That's
All right. So
all right, guys.
I hear Chuck in the background.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. So everyone is moving to Chuck's
No, it's fine.
show. I think we should. Yeah, I'll be kind to Chuck and let everyone join Chuck's show. I can contribute 16 people, and including the 4 of us, so 20 people in total to Chuck's show. And yeah.
Well,
So,
thank you, Frams. We'll talk more about this going forward, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. And we're probably going to do a few pieces of interesting videos together that you have lined up. And everyone, the 15 of you that are watching, allow me to ask you to kindly subscribe to Vagan, who is whose channel is 4 times larger than mine, and it's fun for me to say that. And please type photography discourse in your search box and find Baron and subscribe to him. He has so much to share. I mean, like critical thinking on camera gear. If you want that.
Well, thank you, Frams. I feel the same about you.
Yeah, but I do that less than you. You do that way more than me.
That's probably true. Probably too much, but yeah, that's part of it.
It's not because it keeps the conversation going, and it's like fuel to the fire. It's like I love it. So, and Vagan and Vagan, I really look forward to seeing a lot of interesting lens reviews, third-party lens reviews, especially for both Z8 and Z9. Because when you do those reviews, I'm going to figure out what to buy. Now that if Sigma is coming in, and why don't you also do those reviews on where you adapt other brand lenses via the Z adapter on the Z9 and Z8? I'll be keen to see some of those videos. Yeah.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
for having me. And I continue, and I hope to see more live streams from you in the future.
Oh, I'll try. And Mosman, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining with that alligator face.
Yeah, I appreciate the link. And sorry I had to take a phone call in the middle of the stream.
No problem. And next time please come on camera.
Oh, sure. If I didn't have to get up beforehand, I would have been.
It's so hard to read your face in any case. So
poker face.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Cool.
All right, guys.
All right. So how do you end this? Vagan, do you want to do something? Do you want to do your rock and roll thing?
Well, subscribe to Frames TM. Amazing channel. He's my friend. And rock and roll, guys. See you guys in the next one.
Thank you. See you.
All right.
Peace.
See you guys.